I have seen, both of us, we share a common past. Both of us, we have studied viola in Vienna. You and me.
Yeah, this is one of the great things that many people started in Vienna, and I'm very happy that you also started. But I must disappoint you a little bit. I did not start the viola. I started actually violin in Vienna. Yes, and this is actually something which might you as a viola player surprise a little bit. I was actually playing all the time in violin, and was playing in a quartet, in an artist quartet, second violin. I was substituting in the Vienna Philharmonic as a violinist. I was substituting in the Vienna Staatsoper as a violinist. And actually, I wanted to be in the orchestra. You know, I wanted to make an audition, but there was no spot free. The only place which opened was in a viola section. So I still remember it was in December 1982. I heard the announcement that there is open position for the viola section, and the audition should be in April 1983. So in this moment, when I heard it, I thought, okay, listen, take the risk and change to viola. And I put my violin in the case and very sporadically took it out to play sometimes in the Staatsoper and so some of the operas and so as a violinist, but very rarely. I played, and excuse me, I practice at home. The violas is like, you know, I had to actually borrow also the instrument and the bow. You know, I didn't have it yet. You know.
Of course.
And I had also asked some my violin teacher whether he could listen to viola. He really gave me lessons. A violin teacher gave me lessons for viola, and then of course I had also asked a viola player to help me when I do the Bartók violin concerto, and I had to play, you know, Stamitz and so, and also. Please help me, you know. So and so they give me some lessons. In the end, you know, it always showed me when you want to do something in your life and you go for it, you will mostly succeed. You mostly succeed in that, and I was happy. I was when I was winning the audition. Actually, there was the head of the audition committee. He came to me and said, "Mr. Honeck, you have won the audition, and congratulations. We are happy. But I wanted to ask you, please stop conducting." And and you know, in one way I was extremely happy. And the other hand, what does it mean? I was not yet a conductor. I was a student somehow, you know, but the people knew that I was also interested in conducting in that time. So
you did conduct before already. So you started to conduct before you applied for the viola audition.
Oh, actually, that's actually at nearly at the same time. Actually, I mean, of course, I must tell you, when the first time when I started to think about conducting was when I tried to get a ticket for New Year's concert in Vienna. And you know, my family was not, we were rather short of money. We had no money, really, you know. We had not even a TV station at home. So, you know, there was, excuse me, a TV at home. So I had to try to get a ticket for the standing place in the back of the Musikverein. And it was actually, I was successful. I got a ticket, surprisingly, and the same was 250 people as well, all adults. And I was actually among these adults, surrounded by tall adults, you know, and I was a child, you know.
May I ask you, how old have you been there?
I was 14, 14
Yeah.
or 15 years, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that really, but it must be in that kind of 1973, 74 around. And anyway, I was short, and you know, in that period of my life, you know, and surrounded, I had no view to the stage, you know, and you know what happened? One of the older usher, he saw me among the adults, and he picked me out, and he said, "Come on," and he put me in front of all the people. And so I had the best position I ever could have, you know. And I was actually embarrassed a little bit because all these people behind me now, they were waking up and standing in line at 5 o'clock in the morning to get a ticket for the newest concert. Yeah, because it's a privilege to get that. You know, so you have to really get and to get the best place, they have to stand in line for a whole day. Now this usher took me out and put me on the position. You know, in front of them. So I had the best view to the stage of Wiener Musikverein. And I still remember I had actually this feeling in my heart, you know, wow, I want to be a conductor, or I want to be a musician, a member of Vienna Philharmonic. It was so great. I was so touched. And now, as you know, I won the audition of Vienna Philharmonic, and now I'm conductor, so I both now. But you know what is actually so amazing is one person, this old usher in Wiener Musikverein. He made it happen that I had this experience. Yes. I might have it in another time as well, and I don't know. But because of him, I had a fire in my heart, you know. And here's the sad thing. I wanted to thank him for that some years later when I really was conductor, and he already passed away, so I could not thank him, you know. But it showed me what one human can do for you, and it changes your life. And I'm so grateful and so thankful for this person.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Even his name, you know. So it is, unfortunately, but we all have, you know, we have people who inspires you, and they don't know why.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask you. You have been 14 being there in this Wiener Musikverein in the hope to get a card, but your background, did your parents make music at home? I saw your brother is a musician as well, but are you coming from musical background, or it was just something very personal in you which has driven you to try to get inside of this hall when you're 14? How much of musical environment did you enjoy as a small child?
Well, this is quite a simple answer what I could give, because you know I was born in a 9 children family, you know, and my parents who were not musicians. My father was a post officer, and my mother stayed with his amount of children at home. And she passed away when I was 7 years old, so was quite young, you know. So so I don't not really know her, I must say, you know, as I was just young. But and here is another example, what I mentioned before, this ashram. My father, and all that, you should know, all that children played an instrument. So even if you would not like you could not escape that. You had to play an instrument because all your siblings are playing the instrument. So he gave me just the violin, the hand, and just played it. So I played it. Going back to this experience with the usher and what I told you before, here is another example. My father decided to move with the whole family from Vorarlberg, from a small village near the mountains, which a very simple life there. We had no TV, and we were always in the nature. He moved to the capital city of Austria, to Vienna. And the only reason why he wanted to do that, to get the best teachers for his kids. But he had no money. So my older siblings, they went to work and gave the money to the whole family. So the same thing what the usher has done for me now, what my father did also for his kids. If he would not have done this decision because short of money or whatever it is, or lack of courage or so, I think I would not sit here and talk to you. I would not be a conductor. I would not be perhaps a musician. So it's another example what a decision of one human can change the life. So as I said before, all my siblings played an instrument, and I still remember when we came to Vienna, we had a small apartment. We could not afford a bigger one. It has 2.5 rooms, and you can imagine this time it was only 7 instead of 9. Because 2 were already out of the family, they were already married. But the whole apartment was full of music. We had to exactly to know when we practice, and so I had 1.5 hour this an afternoon, and my brother did and later, because we could not play in the same room, And I still remember the poor neighbors, they quitted their apartment, they could not stand this, all this music. I felt so, nowadays I think of course different, this, it must be a torture for them, to hear a whole family coming from Vorarlberg and everybody plays an instrument, so, but later on, I think 2 or 3 years later, we got a bigger apartment in the 4th district, which is called Johann Strauss Gasse, by accident. So I'm a big Johann Strauss fan. Anyway, you have to be when you live in Vienna. We had then a big apartment, so it was a little bit easier than later. But so back to your question, we all played an instrument, and this inspiration from one another, and play for your brother, play for your sister, and the sister you listen to you, and at the same time I must also say I liked to play soccer, so it was there were periods where I liked to play more soccer than practice violin, actually. When I came to Vienna, I saw, oh my God, there were so many fantastic players. And suddenly I was among of best players in the world, and that inspired me. It made me, wow, you can play so good. I still remember was a Japanese violinist. He played all the Paganini Caprice already. And I struggled with the technique, and I looked up to them. Wow! So I thought, rather practice, rather do something, And it's no surprise, if you practice, you get also result. We know that.
Based on the story of yours, when you came among the huge family, which hasn't been elitist at all, your father was a postmaster, and he gave everything he has to make your musical education possible. It shows us that classical music has not been at all something for the elite. It was not elitist art, it was a part of the society of all several social ranks in Europe, right?
Yes.
So why now? Why did it change so much? And nowadays we hear every time so frequently that classical music is a niche product for an elitist rank of people with money who are not that many around there. Why did it change so much, the establishment of classical music from back to the time when you have been small, a part of life, to something very rather a little weird and strange in eyes of the generation, let's say, of my children who are 10 and older, like something from the past, an antiquité, if I like to say it. What happened? It has been like, let's say, 50 years, and the image of classical music and making music has changed so strongly.
Well, we have to know that the world changes all the time, and this is always an evolution of things. We don't live 100 years ago, or we don't live 200 years or 300 years ago. Yet we play the same music, which was created 200, 300 years ago. So but we are driving to our working place with a car and not with a horse. So it's very, very different. So and many things were amazing, good. But what changes also? I would say what changes a lot is the influence within the family, and through the beginning of the medias, I would say the TV, the radio. There is a lot of also very positive attraction. Also, might be sometimes negative. Also, for some people, it could be also. And anyway, when you look how families were living together in earlier times. And be careful, I don't want to say that earlier times means it's the best time. It's not. I'm happy to live in this time, and this is very clear, So, but just want to a little bit illustrate how the people lived in. The families come together, mostly the big families, actually, So, and then they had no TV, like our family. We had no TV, So, we had a radio. That was, and we had one. Schallplattenspieler, LP player, and we had actually 5 LPs, and I destroyed one because this Mozart Coronation Mass, and it was destroyed because I listened it over and over, and so and then it was kaput. It was crazy, but anyway, so the families came together. And they were sitting on the dish on they were playing instruments mostly, So and piano, and singing especially. They were also singing in a family. Now, when a TV and a radio come, suddenly there's a new family members, the TV and the radio, and suddenly you get a little bit voices from outside. And that means also sometimes that the voices be heard also, and it affects your way of life, that affects your thinking. Now, it came later on the more popular, the TV, so every family had to have a TV. There is families who had the TV running from the 7 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock in the night, so all the time, so during the cooking, during eating, and so I knew also family who got the radio all the time, even during the dinner and lunch, So this, you heard always the voice. So the family itself did not communicate something. But what happens today? Also, we have now mobile phones, and I realize we don't communicate as well. You go on a train or minutes, and even sometimes families. They take out the mobile phone on the at the table, and we don't talk to each other, you know. So in my family, I had to say, no, don't, let's do it. We can have the go do it when it's necessary. Of course, it's fantastic that we have these tools, you know. It's, I think it makes our life much more easy. I can't believe that we didn't have that 50 years ago. I can't believe it, you know. So and this is amazing. But there is a danger, you know, on the communication side, you know, and understanding the human soul, and then understanding also uh, the, the way of people talking, what they talk, to listen very carefully, how they are, and the body gesture, and all these things we don't have attention so much anymore. Does it surprise you when you get occupied by this? That you might not be able to go to concerts where we have to stay, where you don't have to use a mobile phone. No? You are not. You should not do that, actually. You know, and you cannot take your drink into the bar. Big temptation. I got sometimes a question by some orchestras, Maestro, would you allow to take drinks during the classic concert into the hall? I said no, because this is disrespectful to the music and to the musicians as well. And if people coming to our concerts, the classic concerts, I think they have the right to listen, but he has to be able also to listen. And here is the point. You know, what I realize, and this is a little bit criticism also, I think that materialism is getting a little bit too much ahead of our thinking, and so, and the business type of our thinking is, please don't misunderstand, we need money and we need to earn money, and I'm happy with everybody who earns a lot of money. But if money is all the things what we do, and everything is underneath, very less important than money, then we have a problem. And so, and this materialism gives a little bit kind of this kind of, so why do you need music? Excuse me, why is it necessary? No,
exactly. Yes.
A lot of questions in this. You know what? One time a journalist asked me, Maestro Honeck, we can actually live without music as well. Why do we need music? And my question is, my answer was actually, are you married? I said yes. If there is an anniversary of your wedding, what do you give to your wife? Well, flowers, what we always do, you know. Well, we can live without flowers as well, isn't it? Do you need flowers for your life? No, we don't need. But can you imagine a life without flowers? Is the same a life without music. And it enriches you, and music gives you all what you can have in life. When you are very sad, it can uplift you. If you're happy, it can bring you to a point where you say, this is exactly what I needed at the moment. Music, especially classic music, I must say, gives you always an answer at any time in your life. And here is the point, you know, and I wish that people, that families and parents decide to let their kids play an instrument, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Give them, before you give them the mobile phone, give them an instrument. And because this instrument will also help you to guide your life, you know, because it's like a personal partner for you, you know, because you get to love the piano, you get to love the viola, the violin, the cello, you know. So this is something what you, and practicing, by the way, scientists found that out, practicing a violin, it also cultivates your working process. And this is so, in any way, everything is fantastic. I can always, please, to tell the parents, take this as a
I think also, as classical musicians, we can do more than we really imagine at the moment to rebuild the connection to the people out there. I think if we think like 200 years back, even a little less, the culture of making music together, also between professional musicians, teachers, and amateurs, was very established. So even just think back on Liszt and Chopin, they played together with their students, also composed for them, and they premiered the pieces. Nowadays, we have a huge gap between amateur musicians and professionals. Don't you think that building a bridge between both of groups, and if you might come together and play together in one or another form, we will increase the motivation to participate and play an instrument? Because I'm convinced, how can we increase the interest to listen to the classical music? We need to increase the interest to play oneself, no matter if good or bad, professional or not professional, but to make it. If you lose the contact, and if you do not play an instrument and even never read the musical material, musical text, then you probably can't really feel and understand the contents in the musical piece. So don't you think if we might bring new editions which are suitable to play for amateur and professionals together, if you might make concerts and performances and even recordings when both are a part of one, that it might make a step to re-establishment of classical music among large audience?
Well, I agree with you. There is a lot of things what we have to do, but we should also not forget the orchestra institution are doing a lot today. The programs for young children, the programs they do a mixture with young, not semi-professionals or young professionals and with professionals. It's amazing what here in Pittsburgh, for example, they have a fantastic education program and people love it. I would say one thing. When you talk about these young musicians, we are playing together. That of course it stimulates and it helps them and inspires them, and this is absolutely right. But the majority of they don't even play an instrument, isn't it? My biggest question is how do people love the music? How can you get love to that? And here is one thing which is extremely sad is the music lessons in schools started to diminish like this years ago. And we have now the result of that, actually, also, because you can imagine if you never heard about Beethoven, how I cannot be mad about this person if he doesn't come to the concert. If we don't hear anything about it, even why should I go to a concert? It doesn't make sense for me. So here, here's the thing. I really would wish that music lessons in the schools coming back, and also is that the quality of the music lessons are is in this way concentrated on the great composers. You don't need to get everything, every details in this is very should not be young kids about harmony, and counterpoint and all these things. That this is not interesting. But what is interesting that people start to get to love this. If they know it, they have the chance to love it. If they don't know it, they have no chance to love it. It's very simple, actually. And this is the point, actually. So I know so many people who don't play any instrument. But they got from their teacher first time to hear the Beethoven Fifth Symphony. And they went to the concert one time, and they were so impressed that they started either an instrument or went to the concert. And here's the education. This is one of the things what we need to be. We need to realize. We need to. It's not because it's not because people should go to the concert that the orchestras are still alive. I think it's because I still believe, and I strongly believe, that that music is part of the health of our social life in our Western countries.
Yeah.
Without music, the social life is not that healthy enough, in my opinion. So music can help you to get a better social life, because music has the power to change. Music can when people go out and believe me, I get a lot of emails or letters, saying, they were so touched by that, and I will come again. And so this is wonderful. What this is not because of Manfred Honeck, it's because of Mozart, because of Beethoven, because of Mahler. This kind of composers are these heroes, and this is our tradition. This is built up for 100 years, and we are at the moment where we might forget this a little bit. I still believe music will never disappears. This music is too good. It is so fantastic, and it will speak to people in every generation. The only thing is it has to open the door. Either it's families, like in early times,
Yeah.
or institutions, or schools. Somebody has to open the doors for this to get this fantastic, healthy thing for your life, and it enriches your life. We have to know that. And everybody, and I still say this, especially in America, always, as you know, in America, orchestras, we are dependent on private money.
Yes.
I always tell if you give to the Pittsburgh Symphony or to the Chicago, whatever if you give money, you don't give it only to the musicians or to the institution. You give it to the country. You give
Absolutely.
it to your own city. And this is actually, for me, the most important thing. And why to give money?
Is the work leading an orchestra rather more difficult in the United States than in Europe, or is it sort of similar? As long as I know, for example, in Austria, classical music is well supported. But how is it in the United States? Do you see lots of differences?
No, yeah, good. I mean, the structure is a little bit different. It's very simple that the orchestras mostly in Europe are subsidized by the state. And in America, the culture and art institutions are mostly dependent on private money. That means, in time of crisis, it might be a little bit more difficult, for those, because donors might have some less money, and the state is. If the state is bankrupt, then everybody is bankrupt, and it doesn't work anyway. But still, the state, like in Austria, they want to give money for art. This might be not that money; they have to reduce as well. But at least they have some money. So this is a little bit of depends on the time. It's in times of wars and security times of crisis, a little bit more difficult. Nevertheless, I experience in America wonderful people who are surround the orchestra, people who are so dedicated to the institution. They give everything. They do everything. They do things and making calls to collect money for institutions. This I don't see so much in Europe, because in Europe we don't have this system anyway. So we think, oh, the state is responsible, the state have to give money, so why should I give my private money? In America, it's different. But that leads also in America into the in my opinion, a wonderful role of people, because they give their heart, and you feel that in the audience when they are in their concert. What a storm, what a kind of liveliness there is in the audience. They love the orchestra, and they give everything. They give everything what they can. So they just don't come only to listen. They are here, and they are inspired by that, what they themselves do, and what they do for the institute orchestra musicians. So the fire and all emotions behind it, this is in America, which I really appreciate. And as a music director, of course, you are challenged all the time in Europe as well. In America, you have also go to a lot of meetings with donors and sponsors. In earlier times, I thought, oh my God, this is a little bit too much for me. But you know, I really love to talk with these people. They might be not have this enormous knowledge about music, but they have the questions they ask. They are wonderful. They are so great, and they are great humans, you know. And I mean, it's and from the financial point of view, if somebody gave you a $10 million and asked for a dinner with the maestro, would you say no? No, you would. I would not say no if somebody gives $1,000 only. It's people who are dedicated to music. It's wonderful to talk with them. I really love that. Started to love that, and meeting so many great, interesting people from different parts of the world.
Before we are coming to the end, and it's so interesting. It's actually pity to me to stop. I have chosen the album. It's actually for the future review and the Fanfare, my Fanfare, your albums. I've chosen the album where you combine Barber's Adagio and Shostakovich's Fifth. Please, and this really, it has cultural values. This combination of both of these pieces has an enormous cultural value. We can also say, what can we listen to contemplate about the 20th century? And probably these two pieces are the right cast for this. What brought you to the decision to do exactly this program for this album?
Firstly, it's a musical decision. I love both pieces. They are greatest pieces of the 20th century, I must say. I love both composers. One of the greatest composers, both of them, fantastic. So this is my first decision, the quality of the music. Then it goes to also back to the life of Shostakovich, being depressed, actually oppressed by Stalin and by the regime in the Soviet Union, and how this composer was able to describe his feelings, his emotions in this symphony, in the Fifth Symphony. We should not forget that Shostakovich was one of the most talented composers and well-known composers after Tchaikovsky's Scriabin, you know, so, and Shostakovich came out, and what everybody wanted to hear Shostakovich. He wrote operas, and one of the opera was Lady Macbeth of Minsk, and then even Stalin went to a performance in Moscow, and when he heard the first act, he was very angry and left in the break, and the next day, the Pravda, the newspaper, says as a headline, this is chaos instead of music, you know, and he was persona non grata immediately. He was in danger because Shostakovich knew that so many of his friends were sent to Siberia, and he was asked to speak in front of the committee, you know, of the Communist Party, and justify that, you know, and it's he knew if I say a wrong word, he will be immediately sent to the Gulag, and or killed. And it's like by the way, his sister also unfortunately was killed, and so he had to be very careful. And what is so sad to see that his personality, according to the fantastic cellist Rostropovich, who knew Shostakovich personally, he said, you know, that it's so sad to see how the personality of Shostakovich changes. You know, he got introvert, didn't speak too much, but what he spoke is in the music. And here it is wonderful to see how sarcastic he wrote sometimes some this described the regime, and how honest was his feelings in the third movement, in the slow movement, you know, because they asked him, you have to Stalin's committee, you know, I said, you have to write not for the elite, for the upper Western style. You have to write for the peasants and for the workers, you know, simple, you know. And the answer was the Fifth Symphony of Shostakovich, which is on our CD. And the messages are amazing. You know, when people think the end is a political triumph, it's not at all. It's actually a personal triumph. Shostakovich tells us, you can tell me, press me, whatever you want. I will not give up. This is more a personal triumph. And there's one thing which I also love very much in this symphony is this inspiration by Gustav Mahler. Shostakovich wrote very often that he inspired and he knew the Mahler's work, and you hear a lot of inspiration, like the scherzo movement, you know, which is like a copy of the first symphony of the scherzo as well. Of course, it did in a different. That's a reason why in this recording I give a little bit Austrian touch on that, because this was so influenced by the Landler and in the trio, for example. You know, in this recording more Austrian than Russian, you know, because it was inspired by Gustav Mahler. So this is the language in the the third movement, also the beginning. You can also think about the archetto of the Fifth Symphony, you know, a reduced orchestration, you know, and then Mahler did as well, you know, so the strings are dominating in that. There's, by the way, in this movement also a wonderful moment where he let three wind instruments to play completely alone, you know. The oboe, the clarinet, and the flute. They play completely and only a little bit accompanied by the string, by the tremolo of the strings. And he describes here three humans who were sent to the camp, you know, to the Archipelago, you know. So this is somehow, you know, so sad to see, you know. But it's typical Shostakovich. He thinks about other people and describes their situation. So, and Barbara's Adagio, of course, I mean, we know that it is actually always written, our play being very serious moments in American history, when somebody dies, also when somebody or a president dies, and then the Barbara Adagio is the most comforting music. I was really impressed by Samuel Barber's tonal language and then how he created. But I was also impressed that he later he made a version of wrote a text to this adagio, and the text was the Latin Agnus Dei Quitoris Peccata Mundi, and it's amazing. And I believe that Barber, who loved to be in Italy, you know, that he was inspired by that from the beginning on when he wrote this string quartet. You know, I think he was already inspired by this kind of thinking the world of Agnus Dei Quitoris Peccata Mundi. And so when I started to perform these pieces, I was listening the original and then also the later version he wrote in the 60s with the text. I thought, for me, it made absolutely sense. When you listen to the text of the Agnus Dei, you know, then you know exactly what Barber has wanted to say about the music. And you see, this is also this music gives you a lot of moments to think about, to enjoy. Shostakovich and Barber both are written actually in the 30s, nearly in the same time. You know.
Exactly the same 2 years between 1936 and 1938.
Yeah.
And both of these pieces, to me, Shostakovich writes about the fifth that it's all about the triumph of optimism over the deprivation. But to me, it means nothing more of triumph of the fate over the deprivation. But in the Soviet Union, you couldn't have used the term of fate, so he speaks about optimism. And Barber is, it's like a requiem for the 20th century, isn't it? So would you agree that music, especially music, is an art which can substitute the spiritual life and bring all together? In the world, we are divided in languages, religions, different way to believe. But in the music, in the concert hall, we are listening to a language which everyone understands. And we are a part with the divine, let's say with God, because music is immortal. It is a part of higher realm. So isn't it maybe if only way to establish spirituality in the society without to divide people and bring them all back together?
I agree with you. This is clear for me. Our human being, we exist of a body, a soul, and a spirit. No, and this is for me very clear that the music touches your soul and come out of a spirit, and this is universal. Which faith or you have no faith, whatever it is, people, and you said it completely right. Music is the best language of the world, who everybody in the world understands. If you let it to come in your heart, this is important. And if you refuse to hear music, it is another thing, So, but if you let it in, then music, then you understand what the composers want to tell you. And there is the spiritual moment, because I believe even composers might have no faith or say they have no faith, but they have a spirit and they have something which you cannot describe. Why did you get now these moments? Why did you get these thoughts? And why do you write this harmony? Why do you write this? This is something where we cannot explain. There is something above us, we call it God, as you say, and many people like Bach and Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Gustav Mahler. Gustav Mahler, compared to Richard Strauss, Gustav Mahler was much, much more spiritual, and this the resurrection and all these moments in every symphony, you have something where he looks up to God. Every time I can show you, or Anton Bruckner, what a wonderful inspiration they get. Where does it come from? It's certainly from something which we cannot describe. And then this is one of the best things what music can offer. Let me say one word for our society. Actually, it's enormously important for us that music should not be misused by regimes. Unfortunately, it does sometimes. Look on Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. It is sometimes misused by regimes and to celebrate their regime. Talk about freedom, but they don't have any freedom. So it's a manipulation through music. It is sometimes. But in the other hand, we have also to express ourselves when we have to describe our society at the moment, or what happens in the world on the moment. It feels, and I'm sure that you feel the same. There's a lot of battles and wars and terrorist attacks are going on everywhere, so many parts of the world. Should music be quiet? I don't believe. And that's one of the reasons why, for example, I gave a commission to an Israeli composer, Boris Bigovat. We had now the 5th years of anniversary of the shooting in Pittsburgh, where 11 people were killed in a synagogue. And I asked the Boris Bigovat to write a piece, and just a month ago have a world premiere that. Just to remind people, don't forget, And you know, this for me was actually, it was planned to be on the 7th of October. We postponed it for a concert, Violins of Hope, which are instruments from musicians, Jewish musicians who were killed in the Nazi camps. They used the violins, and Josh Bell was playing. So I world premiered it in this way. But it was actually shocking. On the 7th of October was exactly the attack of the Hamas to Israel. That it should be in this world premiere at this moment. And it's a marvelous piece, and we all were so touched. And when he composes 11 heartbeats to commemorate the victims of this terrible attack. And it shows also we can do a lot in our time, you know, to help people to understand never again. But it is never, it comes again. It's
again.
We should never forget. If we say never again, it comes. But we have always also an answer. Music is always here. Music is always here to bring hopefully peace and be able to think about what is the role of humans in the world. And humor touches the deepest deepness of your soul, and that creates something. And I think that's the power of music. And we should not be silent. We should not be quiet. Always think about what can we do as musicians to let people understand that how we get to be a better world.
Exactly. I'm with all my heart behind your words from all sides, as an artist, as musician, as working for the art press. None of us has the right or permission to be silent, because we have a mission to help in the change of times, in the change of cultural evolution. We are obligated to do our work, one or another. Usually, to me, it's so pretty to close, because I could have 25 questions more. But I look forward so much to talk again, also to write a review about more than one of your albums. And I'm very interested to listen to this piece you just mentioned. Did you record it?
Oh, yes, that was actually not a professional recording, but it was a radio recording.
Is it already released?
No. This is a radio recording. It will be transmitted by the radio, by WQRD.
So I would love to write a review, if possible, for this piece.
Oh, yes, you could listen to it. It's around 20 minutes, a little bit above 20 minutes, but very strong, and then uses a Jewish prayer of commemorating the victims, and it's by the way, you must probably love it. He ends with the viola group, you know. And then asked him, why did you just use the viola? Yeah, viola is probably the best sound of for warmness, for that, and as it starts with that and ends, it's a big solo for the viola group in the end.
So I can't wait to listen to it and to write a review. And just as usually, I close the podcast. Please feel free to ask me any question as you like in return. It's like in chamber music. Now we change the places and you ask one question.
Well, do you love Wiener Schnitzel as a violist?
Pardon?
You love Wiener Schnitzel as a viola player?
I don't know.
You never were eating Wiener Schnitzel?
Of course I did. Of course. I did eat Wiener Schnitzel, and I actually remember that I haven't done it when I was a student. In all my time of studies, I didn't. But then later, when I came with my older daughter for her birthday wish was to attend the opera. And we came to Vienna because it was my second home with her, and we were invited to listen to Aida with her. And so I wanted to show her what actually Vienna has on offer, and that was not the studying rooms in the Johannesgasse, but Vienna Schnitzel and Stadtpark. And so we went to eat it. It was my first time, and I was really almost 30 years old. It was very delicious. And then we came to the opera to listen to Aida. I remember she made 6, and she has prepared herself. She did read the libretto and everything. And we were in the loge, and people from the opera came to us more than once to ask if we didn't mess anything up, if we are right here with a child. And then I almost thought, we are right here with the child because she's prepared to read the libretto and she loves it so much. Why not? So that's the story with Wiener Schnitzel.
Well, this was not a serious question, actually, because I wanted to, because Wiener Schnitzel is my favorite.
It's delicious.
Of course. But what is your favorite piece and favorite composer?
That is maybe the hardest question I could ever hear. Well, among all, I love all composers and all pieces. And so I have certain way to feel and talk to Bach. And I really, my part of life is dedicated to Beethoven because I made edition of his sonatas for piano and cello, for viola and piano. But maybe the very favorite composer, which I really love, is Mozart.
Yes. So we have,
because when I came to immigration, I came as a child of Jewish immigrants to Germany, and it was to me something very, very hard because I lived in the belief that in Germany everybody is a Nazi, and I refused to learn German on this reason. And I refused, and I didn't learn any German for 6 months. I was improving my English. I almost started to translate Tennessee Williams, but no word in German, like being rebellious. And then suddenly someone has showed me original book, Mozart's letters. And it was the moment when I forgot all my hate to Nazis, all refusement to learn German. Within a week, I learned German, and I did read this book. Yeah, it's Mozart.
Yeah, Mozart letters are very fun, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
You learn so much about his music when you read the letters, isn't it?
And then much later, when being a viola player, so I always tried to enlarge the repertoire, to make different projects, to play a lot of contemporary music. But I've always in my head a question: why don't we have Mozart viola concerto, and why don't I have the original sonata? Why? One night I dream and I see Mozart sits, and I remember he practiced. And of course, I make this question: tell me, why didn't you write a viola concerto and a viola sonata? And he says, you know what? I just didn't have the time. I didn't know that I'm gonna die that soon. I wanted to make a viola concerto in A major and a sonata in D major, but I just ran out of time. I'm sorry.
That's wonderful. This is wonderful.
Yeah. And anyway, thank you so much. Yeah.
No. But I mean, this is interesting because I get always these questions always. What is your favorite piece and what is your favorite composer? But as you're a viola player, I would finally to ask you, and I'm originally not a viola player. Can you finally tell me a viola joke?
Well, my favorite viola joke is the one when there's a world famous quartet search for first violin, second violin, and the cello. But playing the viola, especially in Vienna, I'm from Moscow, and in Moscow, violin, viola, it's same. So there's no gap, and it's like very genuinely. You remember Oistrakh was playing viola very frequently. Minuchin did. And in Vienna, suddenly, I came also as you. I was 14, and to me, it was another world. Everything is very strictly separated, and I have had a huge fight in Vienna. I think it was a horrible story. So anyway, I never could understand this all viola jokes, but sometimes they can be funny, can't they?
Yeah, it is like that, you know. I mean, it's so fantastic that we have humor, you know, and in our music world, and this is why it's viola, because they say it's a bit slow and so on, and this is, of course, we know that this is, but you know, what I would like to ask you also a question, the viola sound, you know, when I came from violin. And I really loved the violin, but when I changed to viola, I was asking myself the question: do you really like the viola sound? And I tell you, when I later on switched sometimes back to violin, you know, and played the violin, I did not really appreciate that so much anymore. Of course, it's fantastic. Please, this is absolutely, you can create a fantastic sound. But the viola sound is a sound which I got so much into it when you try to create a voice, a baritone voice. This is exactly what the viola can offer you, and I think it is unbelievably beautiful and sonore, and I wouldn't. Yeah, it gives you much more deepness, I think, sometimes in the sound of, well, just a darker and fuller sound as a violin can have whenever. Nothing against, you know, but this is fantastic how violin players have great sounds. Don't misunderstand because the viola is a little bit bigger than a violin. It's in the nature also that they impacts the sound as well, you know, and I was, for myself, very actually astonished also when I could really get love this viola sound. And every time when I hear actually the Sinfonia Concertante by Mozart, especially the second movement, I am so touched. It is so beautiful. Two wonderful instruments together, and it could not be better, I think, composed by Mozart.
I agree. Thank you so much, and hope to talk again as soon as possible, and can't wait to listen and review your recording for the radio.
Yes.
Have a nice day ahead, whatever you do, and looking forward to see you again.
Yes. All the best, and
all the best.
And take care. And
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.